Okay, so same thing as level 4. You're going to go up and click the screen share and just select whatever screen you're showing them, and you'll tell me a little bit about creating the images and why you included them, what you like and what you don't, and then I'm going to grade you on a scale of 0 to 3. And I'm going to try to do it without sniffling and coughing the whole way through. So bear with me.
I'm going to try to get through it without coughing too, so see how we go. Good luck.
Okay.
All right, where am I? Which screen have I got?
I was digging the article that you shared in the group on
Yeah,
self-publishing.
It's yeah, it's quite good because these people are saying that it's basically so much trouble to get it done through the other methods. They might as well go the whole hog, which I agree with. Yeah. Can you see that now?
I can. Tell me about this image.
Okay. This is kind of one of the older images I do have, but it's been completely re-edited, and this is what I'm doing now because as I go through, I've never really tried before joining the Arcanum to get a good group of images together as a portfolio, and now I'm going back through and finding the best ones and re-editing everything, and so that I've got them, and it also has helped me realize that I don't tend to like my newer images until they've stood the test of time. So this one is an older one that I've re-edited. It was a shot of Melbourne that I thought I'd found myself, actually. It just seemed very natural shot with this arch bridge and the city in the background and everything. I love this bridge, I love the architecture of it. And I did go out and shoot a lot of stuff at night, and I still like doing that. And this kind of shows that, but it also allows me to sort of experiment with the processing. And the first time I processed it, which would have been originally put in, would have been the full HDR with Photomatics, the same way as Trey did it. And now I'm going for the digital blending in Photoshop, which you use luminosity masks and sort of do it basically manually, and I get you kind of have more control over the subject. So I thought I'd found this myself, and then once I did it and put it up on Flickr, a few weeks later I saw this billboard with almost exactly the same shot on it, and I thought they'd been ripped off, but it was actually, it seems like it's a reasonably common shot of Melbourne for people who get out at night.
Okay.
And but I took them out because they were blurry.
Okay. I'm really in love with your location photography and your landscapes. You light and retouch in a way that just gives them life. Like, you can just feel the life and the energy of the city through your shots, and I think it's really exceptional. I love the fact that you have the majority of the city kind of unintentionally or intentionally framed inside the edging of the bridge. So it kind of creates this like natural structure frame of it, which I think is really cool. Usually I'm okay with the dark skies, but I'm really wanting for a little bit of texture in the sky, or I think some stars would have been awesome as well, which, of course you can just call on demand. But I feel like the negative space of it, because it's so heavy on the bottom, that there's a lot of just empty on the top that's taking it away from me. And I can't tell if this is editing or something I'm seeing, but on the top of the structure on the right-hand side, that may have been, I don't know if you were like cloning it out, but the line isn't clean going off the page.
Yeah, that's actually the top of the bridge. It's I don't have another shot of it, but it's kind of the width of it's got ribs along it, and you can just see them. I could probably take them out.
Yeah, I think it would be stronger if we just smooth that, because it's just enough to be distracting without being close enough that you can tell what it is. So it looks like it was retouched poorly, like it was cloned without being on the same line. Um, but that's really my only major critique. I think the building on the left, um, on the very edge, is distracting a little bit from the main part of the city and the bridge because it's almost on the outside. So I might be inclined to actually crop in just a little bit and cut that out so that it was just the skyline there, so that your eye goes through to the center of the image. Um, but I love the lighting. I love the color toning. I love the the saturation and the contrast of it and how it just kind of pulls you dead center. And you have all these leading lines from both sides of the bank that are pulling you dead center. And right in the center is this like bright blue light. So it just really wants to like pull you in almost like time warping style, like when you go through like black holes in like science fiction movies. Like that's what I feel like there's all this energy like pulling you into the center, which is really strong visually. I like it a lot. So this is probably a new favorite of mine for you, actually. So i'm I'm gonna give you a really high two. I don't think you quite made the bar to exceptional because I've seen so much of your work that really, really wows me. But this would definitely make your portfolio for me or the book that you're working on. But I do think some of your other work is a little bit stronger than this piece.
Sure. You actually gave it this sort of feel because of the bridge and the architecture. It's kind of futuristic, so I thought I'd edit it that way to make it sort of accentuate that. I don't think there was anything in the sky at all. Memory. It was one of those rare black nights in Melbourne, but you can always put stars in, can't you?
Indeed. Okay, next image.
Next one is an architectural abstract of one of my favourite buildings in Melbourne. It's the Royal Exhibition Building, which is sort of like late 19th century built, and it was built for exhibitions itself. It's a huge old thing that that was very elegantly done, and they've managed to maintain it to that level. I've had to take a lot of wires and stuff out of this shot, but I've got all sorts of shots of this, but this is kind of my favourite. I've got a vertical of it as well, which is very straight, but this one kind of, to me, I don't know, I think I see horizontally a lot more than I see vertically, and this one kind of works better for me. I did have one that goes from corner to corner, but it kind of, your eye seems to kind of like skip through and straight out the bottom like a slippery dip or a slide. So this is the one that I've kept as the better one out of the bunch. It's slight HDR, but only enough because of the extreme light that was coming through that top section, the dome. Was obviously, it was hard with the contrast to get the detail in the arches where there are really nice frescoes. So I've only done enough HDR so you can actually see that. I didn't really want to go overboard with it. I'm kind of really shying away from HDR these days, but I use it as a tool so that you can actually get to see the image the way your eye sees it, rather than making it a style thing.
Right. This is a really interesting image. It kind of reminds me of those kaleidoscopes we used to play with as kids. I like the repeating patterns in it, but there's something about the angle that's just, it's the distortion of it is a little bit too much for me. It looks like it's just pulled and stretched and like I don't even know how to describe it. It's got a very like old 70s movie transition thing where they wave the screen before it fades out into something else, and that's the feeling that I'm getting. I actually think that this one would probably be a stronger image in black and white than it is in color, because there's so much going on that I think all of the different colors with all of the different textures and all of the different lines leading in and out, and you have curves and you have angles, there's just so much going on that you don't know where to look. I also think that it would probably be stronger if you cropped it in on the left, so that the two arches on the left had about the same amount of information as the ones on the right, that it was just the clipping out of it, because they're so so much repetition in the rafters on that side that's not getting repeated that I think it's just making the whole image look like it's being pulled to the right hand side. Um, so I'd be interested to see you crop that a little tighter and maybe in like an 8 by 10 format, because I don't want to lose any of the information above or below. I just want to take like 2-3 inches off the one side. I totally get why you're in love with this ceiling and what you were trying to do. I don't think you quite hit the mark here. This would not make your portfolio for me with some of the other work that I've seen you do, and I'm not sure why I don't like it. I think it's just causing my ADD to overreact because I don't know where to look on the image, and there are too many lines leading away and off the page as opposed to drawing you into the center of it. Um, but I also don't not like it. Like it's definitely interesting. I think it's one of those images that somebody's going to look at it and love it, or they're going to not like it, and nobody's going to feel really kind of neutral, like, it's okay. Like either they'll like it or they won't, and I haven't decided which one it is. But I do think that that is the mark of a strong image. Like people should have a strong reaction to your work one way or the other. So I'm gonna give this one a 1. I think that it shows potential. I can tell that you were like almost there. I just think something got lost in the delivery between what you were seeing and what the viewer's seeing that has never been there, trying to process the information. And this would definitely be one. I'm going to try to pull a couple of the other masters that are specific to all the different genres that are in my cohort to give you some better feedback, because obviously I don't do architecture or landscape photography, so I feel like I'm only about 50% qualified to really comment to begin with. So
now it'd be good to get some more feedback, because I've been sort of craving it. That specialist sort of knowledge is very valuable.
That's a good idea. I'm gonna put that in. It's gonna be Ray Warren inspired. I'm gonna see if I can pull a panel of different photography specialties, and we can get together and do critique.
Yeah, I've noticed Mike Holman in New Zealand, who's a master, does landscape and architecture, and he does it beautifully too. So I'd love to hear what he thought.
Okay, awesome. Drop me a note in the group, and I will reach out to him personally. Cool. Let's go on to the next image.
Okay, well this one is one that I don't know whether I love or hate it. Well, I love it sometimes and I hate it other times. It does represent the sort of the old HDR sort of stuff that I was doing. That are, you know, the super saturation that comes up in the sky was actually there, but I've actually pulled it back because I didn't like how saturated it got. It's not the you know, it's I've been pulling back. It's hard to explain, but I sort of find that I don't like it because of that, but I do like it because of that, because it really grabs your eye. I've got a canvas of this, and it looks probably the best canvas I've got out of the dozens I have, because it really works well on the canvas, but I'm not sure whether it's quite as good on the screen. But the funny thing is that just recently I've had the Dutch Airlines people, in-flight magazine people, wanting to buy this. Well, they wanted to me to give it to them free to start off with, but and they wanted to buy this one, and so they seem to like it too. So I think, well, maybe it is good. Okay, but I do go from one extreme to the other with it. If you line it up against some of the way Trey works, he uses more saturated colours than this, so I think, well, maybe I should have left it as strong as it was, and then I have a look at it again and think, no, it's probably too much. It would be better if it was even paler. It's actually a combination of two shots. It's a sunset, and then I waited with my camera in exactly the same position until all the lights in the buildings went on, and then I put them in with a screen mask, and so that there's actually a bit of life. Otherwise, it would have been a very dark silhouette in the foreground. But I do like the way that sort of the sunlight comes down the river in the distance, and you've got all the interest from the lights and everything. It's just one of those ones that I can't decide whether I put it in my portfolio or not. It's definitely one it sells well. I've sold it quite a few times. So, but I haven't decided whether it's one that I'd show off or not.
I like this one. I like the dichotomy of nature versus um, human development. And I think that this is a really good meshing of that, particularly not just with the clouds and the sunset, but that you have the river leading into it is really, really good perspective. Um, there's only two things that are really distracting me from it. The first one is, and I don't know if you did this or not, but there's like this building, like dead center, that has no windows whatsoever. Is that like legit, or were you having trouble with that? Is that just that building?
No, that's the way it is. Yeah.
Okay. It's such a solid block of gray because you did wait to light all the others that it's really, really distracting. I would be inclined to go in and clone one of the other building fronts to it. It's driving me crazy.
Huh.
I don't know why. That's the first thing that jumped out at me. Or I'd be inclined to go in and maybe dodge and burn a little bit and darken it up so that it sinks in more to the shadows, like the building to the right of it, um, so that it was a little bit closer to black than gray, because it's just this big gray, very stark shape in the midst of all of this texture with the windows of all the other buildings. The other thing that's pulling my eye away is just that you have this big, solid, loopy corner of blue where we didn't have a lot of texture from the clouds, and there's so much information going on and playing well off each other with the texture and the intricacy of the shot, and then just nothingness. And so I feel like it distracts a little bit. I'd like to see, just a little bit more of the clouds kind of pulled up in there, and have the fade out of that be a little bit more gradual rather than this big arc of clear blue sky kind of thing. But that's really my only critique. I love that you waited and let the lights light up. I do think it makes it much more interesting. I love the sunset with it. I would be very interested to see it with the color punched up in the sky, because I kind of like it as it is, but I'm kind of inclined to say that it would be stronger with the saturation. But I'd have to see them side by side to really make a good critique of it. But um, I also think that while you're picking your favorites, that since you are looking to sell, that you should take that into consideration. So if the people that are buying your work are saying this is a good image and it's selling quite a bit, then it makes your portfolio. And it would make your portfolio for me as well. I really like this shot. So I'm going to give you you're right on the edge between 2 and 3. I'm going to give you a 3 for this one. I think that this one's pretty exceptional with all the elements considered and how they're all pulled together. There's a few things that would have made it a really solid 3 for me, but I'm going to give you the 3 points anyway because I really do like this shot. And I love
Cool.
that it's selling for you, too.
Yeah, yeah. I think one of the things is I probably should crop this to show it on a screen, because when it's wrapped on a canvas, you lose a lot of the edges. So I have never really noticed that big blob of blue before, because it's usually not shown. It's usually around the corner, and you can't see the crane on the left either, and you can't see the building on the bottom because it wraps around. So
Okay.
yeah, so I probably should crop it for viewing on the screen so that it actually looks the way it would look on a canvas, because that's where it looks the best, I think.
Interesting. And I wouldn't have thought of that until you said it, but yeah, now knowing how much of the information gets lost on canvas wrapping around the sides, I can totally see where it would be stronger that way.
Well, I
Yeah,
found
I think
myself
it.
now shooting wider because of it. I'm actually, and sometimes when I do, and if I haven't shot wide enough, I artificially stretch the sides by mirroring over so that it can be wrapped around without losing the picture. But this one just had it anyway, which is okay. All
Yeah, I
right,
like
next one.
this one a lot.
Now, as I was saying before, I don't normally see vertically, but with a tall building like this, you don't have a lot of choice, I guess, because there isn't anything else around, and you need a very wide lens to get it all in, and the distortion to just go crazy. It was a sunset. That's the Eureka building in Melbourne, the tallest building in the southern hemisphere, and there's a sky deck and all that sort of stuff up there. And the big gold bit is designed specifically to reflect light into the city, which is on the right-hand side of the frame, across the river at certain times of the day. And then I would go down there quite often to wait to see where the sun would set, and at this time it set right between the buildings, which is just where I wanted it to do. Because when it's sitting on the other ones, it isn't quite as strong. I like the way it pokes out between the buildings there, and you can see that arch bridge from the first shot in this series from a different viewpoint, and you also get to feel a bit of the riverbank and some of the hotels and buildings and all the rest of it too. It's sort of, yeah, it's just a nice a sunset in the city sort of image, and I did the I don't know what f-stop I had on this. It was what, you know, wound it down so you got the starburst effect and all that sort of thing. And again, it's re-edited, digitally blended rather than the HDR, which it originally would have been.
I like this image a lot from you too. I'm really digging on your play of colors. I love that it's going from you know, the cooler blues and fading into a really warm kind of image across the horizon line. I think it's really beautiful. It looks like a watercolor almost with the skies. And I'm loving on the reflections. You have the horizon almost at center. It's close enough that it's bugging me that I can't see the top of the building in the reflection as well. Like, either if you're going to go halfway, then the reflection should show the same amount, or I think that it would be really strong if you actually brought the crop up from the bottom almost to cut the blue out so that it's warm along the bottom of the print and blue along the top. I don't think that there's enough interesting information in the bottom 20% of the print to warrant its placement there. I would be inclined to crop it in a little bit. I'm also not a huge fan of the starburst. I love the light coming through the buildings, but I feel like the starburst distracts, and it almost looks fake. Like, it almost looks like it was like digitally added in.
No, it's a real one.
Yeah, and I'm totally with you, but they're so strong, and I feel like it's kind of distracting away from the image as a whole. It's a little bit too prominent. I think I'd be inclined to tone it down a little, and I don't even know if you could do that digitally, but I think that's more personal preference, you know, and something that's bugging me that wouldn't necessarily, other people would be like, oh my god, I love this starburst. So I can't deduct points for that because I don't know. I think it's a me thing personally. I love the tall image. I love that you went vertical with it because most landscapes are landscape cropping. So it's interesting to see it, and it changes the perspective of it quite a bit. And I like that you're veering a little bit away from the very now traditional HDR processing that so many landscapes and cityscapes have, because you're creating images that are more believable but still have an element of magic and wonder to them, which I think is a really rare talent, actually. So I like that you're not relying on the post-processing to create the impact for the image. So this is another one that would definitely make your portfolio. It's definitely another new favorite of mine. I'm going to give you 3 for this one as well. I think this is really exceptional work.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. One of the other things I'm learning with all of this too is that I have to think more about my framing, not so much how I want the image to be. That because I'm doing stock and art stuff as well, I've got to leave space for titles and things. So maybe I have to crop them differently for if this is going to go onto you know, into a frame or something. Other than that, if it goes into stock, well, they want that space at the bottom so that they can put their titles and things over it. So I'm now, you know, I've got a 36 megapixel camera, so I can kind of crop things I can shoot a little wider and crop things any way that I like, really.
Yeah, that's a really interesting point that I think a lot of people, including me, wouldn't have thought about, the difference between selling it as an art print, versus as like a commercial print where they're buying it to use in conjunction with text and things that they're selling on their own. Um, so I think you just built one of your levels in Sphere 1. Um, so yeah, I'm definitely going to give you an exceptional for this one. Is that all 5? One more.
One more.
One more.
Oh, it's taking a little while to load. I've actually sent across the full size version of it.
There we go.
Has it come up yet?
Yeah,
I can't see it on my screen. It's not actually showing on my screen.
Interesting. Well, I can see it. It's beautiful.
It's the big panorama of the showgrounds.
Yep.
Okay, cool. All right, because I'm not seeing that. That's all right. As long as you can see it, that's the main thing.
Okay.
This is one I sort of got interested in the year before I took this shot. I'd actually gone and taken a single shot, which would have been sort of like about a third of that frame, with the rides in motion, and I kind of liked that. And the next year I went round and stood in front of all of the rides, and even stuck my camera through fences and stuff like that, safety rails, to get rides from all different angles to see what they look like. And I went back, and once I'd done all of that, I went back and I thought, you know, what I want to do is get a panorama that has every single ride in motion at the same time. And of course you can wait for hours and that'll never happen. So what I did was I made a base, and then I went and shot each one individually when it was operating, and then relied on blending it later. The other thing I did was take a bit of a liberty with the positioning of some of the rides, because some of the rides were behind other rides, so you wouldn't actually be able to see all of these rides at the same time. So I kind of rearranged the showground a little bit, Sideshow Alley, so that you can see all the different elements. And it was good because I actually thought that I'd finished the image, and I was quite happy with it. And I think it was David who spotted some smeary, blurry people in the foreground, which is, it's hard to avoid when you're doing long exposures. And while I was in fixing that up, which wasn't such a big problem, I did notice a few other things I really didn't like about it, and the background was a bit dead, so I put the city in the background, and just enough of the lights just to kill the dead space there. And also there were a few rides where the lights shine directly at the camera for a period of time as they're sort of stopping and then turning back the other direction, so you're getting some really distracting blown out spots. So I actually found other frames and cloned in the rides to actually make them to remove all that stuff. And I think I finally got to a point where it's you can stand there and have a look at it and see a whole lot of different stuff, and it is extremely busy, but it was deliberately meant to be busy. It's meant to be on a big canvas or on a wall or something like that, and just to give you the full effect, because it really is, the bigger you can go with it, the better.
There's this this movie Moulin Rouge with Nicole Kidman. Have you seen it?
Yeah, long time ago. Yeah.
So this reminds me of this scene where they're all doing like the shots of the absinthe and the green fairy, and like they're a little bit overwhelmed and inebriated, and how they're seeing everything. This is what I imagine a carnival would look like to them if they went while they were on that. And I mean that in the best possible way. Like this is a really cool shot. I think this is my new favorite from you. So I'm just going to tell you right off the bat that I'm giving you a 3. I think it's exceptional. I love the motion of it. I love that you have all of this commotion and this sort of almost like laser light show going on, but you still have so much of the information with silhouettes of the people and the trees and everything going on, that it's, like this is also, I think, how children see carnivals and stuff when they go. Like, it's just overwhelming visually and very exciting. And it's really tough to have this much color and information and motion going on without losing the potency of the image and it just becoming distracting. and it doesn't here. It's just exceptionally well done. The only things that bother me in the bottom left hand, whatever is in the foreground there, I think is a little bit distracting. You have like this like gray white kind of thing, and then I don't know, I can't even tell what it is, but that pulls me out of it a little bit. I think it would be stronger if you cropped it up a little bit, but then you would lose the one ride on the right hand side. So I'm not sure what to tell you to do about that, but that distracts me a little bit. But I really love the silhouettes of the people there, so I might be inclined to um, just pull it out entirely and let that be a darker edge. But then I don't know if it would get too weighty. Same thing on the right side of it. I can't read the sign, but there's a sign, and because it's so still with all the motion, my eye keeps wanting to divert to that, and you always want to read the text too. So I would be
I think
inclined
that
to
might be
soften that and dodge that out.
I think that might be the hangout because you can read it even in the one on Google Plus. You can read it quite easily. So
Yeah,
yeah,
and I'm sure it's because we're in the hangout and I'm seeing it small and and shared. Um, but I still think that it's distracting from all this wonderful motion and energy of the image, that it's stoic and that it's text. People always want to read text, so I would be inclined to actually take that out, I think. Um, I love the little flecks of light in the background that I'm guessing are, it's just something going on with the circus, or it's the city behind them.
yeah,
But
city lights.
yeah, it dies out right at the top of the city line. I would be inclined to kind of clone some of these dots and bring them up a little bit higher on the image, just so that you don't have this line of black that goes kind of straight across as a strip. I think that would help to really tie it in. And the two trees in the middle, I really love the silhouette of them, but they're so dark. In the middle is so much energy that I feel like they kind of weight it a little bit and become a little bit of a distraction. I don't know that there's anything that you can do about it because it's just the angle, and they're giant trees there. So, but even still, even with me nitpicking at it, like this is just a fucking stellar image. Like I really like this one a lot. So I'm gonna give you 3. I think it's exceptional. This would be the first image that I would have on your website when people go in because it's so unique. I've never seen anything like it.
Thank you. Yeah, it's actually set me on the path of panoramas more now because I realised the information you can get into them. I've just got to be able to work more with making them work better. I can actually easily do those city lights and move them up because they were added afterwards anyway. They're not in the earlier versions because there's like a huge car park or something behind there. There's nothing. It's all black. And that bottom left, maybe there's a ride I've got in one of my other shots that I can put down there. I'm not sure. But just have it not as dark, not as bright, but still moving, or
Yeah.
yeah, 'cause it's the top of a building that sells. I don't know. It's one of those sideshow things, but it's the top of the building because I was up in a grandstand and sort of poked my camera through a window at the back.
Okay. Yeah, I do think that adding a little bit of light down there, and some motion down there, like you have on the other side, would make it stronger. But I do really like all the silhouettes of the people too. Like if it wasn't a panorama and let's say the image was ending at the trees, I would be inclined to just tell you to crop it up higher, almost to like the level of the feet of the people. But you can't do that without losing half the ride. Like I think there's definitely enough information going on. Um, but
I could very well have another ride there. I'm not sure. I know I had to trawl through and get lots of different bits to make this all work so that I didn't have those, glaring highlights, and also to find all the people that they're in a position so that you could get silhouettes because a lot of these shots are sort of like 10 seconds or more long, and
Okay.
so to have them standing still, I actually had to go through lots of different shots and put in the best of each of the people. So I could probably find there probably would be another something I've got that I could that I could put down the bottom. I'd have to look through and see what I've got.
Yeah, I'd be definitely interested to see that. The only other thing that's distracting for me is the building that's in front of the blue one. That's kind of dead center. It's on the to the right of the tree.
Yep.
That one is also sticking out just because everything's so bright and lit, and it's just there.
Yeah.
um, but I actually think that if you weren't, I really like this ride down at the bottom because it just looks like it's throwing off sparks in every direction. I'm guessing it's like the teacups, or something like that. But if we weren't really attached to that, I'd be inclined to tell you to just crop the bottom and take it up, to the bottom of that ride.
Yeah, there might be a way of
Interesting.
actually moving all that side up because that one on the right-hand side, just above that, everything above that has actually been put in that was in a different position completely. Um, so yeah, I might be able to move it up, um, make it more of a panorama thinner
Yeah.
at the bottom. Yeah.
I'd be interested to see if you played with it a little more, but I'm also picking at it to try to critique you and give you some feedback. Like, don't get too caught up in it because this is a really stellar shot too. Like, I think that you could play with it and make it even better, but I definitely wouldn't be disappointed in the outcome as is. Like, you know, there's always room for improvement to exceptional, but it's still like a really, really good shot. Like, it's still getting like at least four out of 5 stars for me.
Yeah.
So well done.
Oh, good. Thank you.
Yay.
I
All
actually
right.
still couldn't see it on my screen. I had to go and look on a different screen to have a look at it so I could talk about the same thing. And how do I unshare? I'll just.
There should be a little unshare button up at the top, and then
Oh, there's a stop sharing on the left here.
there you go. That's it. If you just go up, there we go. Yay!
I've got two screens and I've got some of it on the left-hand side and some of it on this side where the camera is. So.
Good. All right. Well, you are now through your level 9 critique, and you made it through with flying colors, which I knew you would. So now we get to move on to Sphere 1. How are you feeling?
Good. I've been a bit bewildered lately because I haven't. It's been a bit frustrating. I haven't been well enough to go to Melbourne and get the final shots I need to get my book done, and so that'll have to be in the new year or something. So I need to go and do some balloon rides to get the shots because I've got a list of the shots I want, and it's a bit of a lottery when you get in a balloon because they have to go the direction the wind goes,
Right.
but they often. Because some of those shots that you saw, like was from my old apartment building, and I used to watch the balloons go past. And think I've got to do that. I've got to do that. But some of the shots I've seen from it would be fantastic, and I think I could get some really good ones for the book plus all the other stuff I need. But I'm just going to have to get over there, and if the first time doesn't work, I'm just going to have to keep on going up until I get the shots I need.
That's what I
Um,
like to hear.
yeah, but I'm a bit bewildered at the moment because things haven't always worked out the way that I wanted with some of the stuff. The stock imagery is up and down all over the place, and look, I knew when I got into it, you've got to have a very large stock of stuff to get a steady income out of it. So I have a month where it's good, and then a couple where it's not, or all the rest of it. The art imagery is not selling very well at all at the moment, but it was earlier in the year. So I don't know whether it's a seasonal thing or what it is. But since we had our last discussion, I've started a website on Photo Shelter.
Okay.
You've frozen. Oh, you're still there. Yeah, so I'm just starting to get that built up and everything, get my head around it, and I want to be able to sell the stock stuff as well as the art stuff on there. But I think what I'll do is keep going through the other agencies, but they can have the lesser things that I don't want myself and smaller versions of them. So I'm sort of starting to formulate a plan. I've found a publisher that does it for a reasonable price here, and it turns out that it's through a friend whose father's in Beijing, China, who then has somebody else in Melbourne who then found out that the printer is here in Adelaide. So
Nice.
a big loop around Asia, and it's back in my doorstep again. And also, I found somebody who can translate the text of the book into Mandarin, because I think from my investigations into the tourism figures that Chinese people are going to be the most likely to buy that book. So I mean, that's only one string to the bow. I don't think that books are going to be the major thing for me. I think that's just another use for the images I have. So I've sort of been getting all that sort of worked out. The website started. I'm starting to get people directly contacting me through either Flickr or through Fine Art America, wanting to buy my images for stock purposes or for, like I've had one recently, and besides the airline one, I've had to also a company in Sydney that wanted one of my images for the front of their Christmas invitations, and they wanted to buy it directly from me, and it wasn't available anywhere. So I've set up a mechanism to do that, but with the website I'll be able to do that a lot more.
Okay.
And I think my process is starting to crystallize a little more too. After the level 4 critique, I thought, great, now I know how to choose my images. But I got up to level 8, level 9 again, and I started with 100. And I thought, how am I going to get this down to 20? And then I got it down, and in the end it was just like, that'll do, and I just put 20 up, and then my fellow Larkians and the others helped me bring it down to 5, and I still think that I have an issue with choosing my own work. I think I need somebody else's eye. And I think what it is because I start off being excited. When I've taken the image and I've processed it, I start off by thinking, I really love this image, this is great. Within a few days, I hate it. I really, that's crap. I can do better than that. I want to go back and get a better one. And it goes like this for a while. And I think it really takes a while for me to settle down to decide whether I really like an image or not, and whether I think it should be part of a portfolio. And that's why I'm showing you sort of like older stuff, because I've got newer stuff that I think is there's probably portfolio worthy now, but I may not think that way in a month's time or next year. It's I think the process for me is I really have to let it stand the test of time before it makes it in there.
Okay.
And yeah, unless it just really jumps out at me, and I get some of those, but not that often. So. And the other thing that's really became obvious to me, especially because the pressure of trying to get shots up onto the websites as much as I can, as fast as I can, is that I've always been worried about turning what has been a fantastic hobby into a profession and spoiling it and hating it. I don't want to do that. So I'm backing away from it a bit in terms of being a full-time income. I think that it can be a secondary income, and maybe it'll be a retirement income, and I've got sort of 10 years or so to build that up, I think. But I'm really backing away from it being a full-time one, unless it just seems to take off through my natural efforts, because it really is starting to get to the stage where I spend so much time editing, uploading, keywording, checking all my stuff, making sure that the stuff on all of the different sites that I've got to, that I think, when am I ever going to shoot anything? And I'm forcing myself to make sure I go out once a week at least, because there were weeks there I didn't go out at all, and just shoot something, anything, because it's really becoming so far away from it. It's I'm not enjoying it. So I think I need to just pull back a bit from worrying about whether it's going to sell or not, and just do the stuff like I originally did, is go out and do the stuff I like to shoot.
Are you happy with the job that you have now?
No, I hate it. But actually, I'm only working 2 days a week, because after I got really ill, when I came back, I just said I'm not going to do 4 or 5 days a week anymore. I'm just doing 2 days a week, and that's enough to live on. I just have to be a bit more modest about my about what I spend and all that sort of stuff. But it does give me more time to look at do other things and be around my family, which is the reason I moved back to this city. So, ideally I'd like to find something else, and I've been looking for years, to find something else to make a living at. But I can go in there and do a day's work, and it'll drive me crazy, but at the end of the day, I can, 2 days' work is enough to keep me, keep all the wolves from the door. So.
Okay, so you're spending 2 days a week working at a job that you don't like and don't find personally fulfilling, but that pays the bills. And
Yep.
then you're spending time with your family. And when you're not spending time with your family or your work, is this pretty much what you're doing? Is shooting
Oh yeah.
and creating this?
Yeah. Well,
So,
sometimes I get up in the morning and I'm on the computer at 8 or 9 in the morning, and I'm still on at midnight doing what I said. Editing, uploading, keywording, the whole
okay,
cycle.
so so hear me when I say this. If you eat, breathe, and sleep this, then this is what you are meant to be doing with your time. And anything else that you are doing that isn't giving you that same feeling is a waste of your time. And time is the one resource you have that's it. You don't know how much you have and you're not getting any more of it. I hate seeing people spending their time doing anything that does not make them happy. Um, so I totally get, and it's a very, very common feeling to be worried that when you have something that you love and that you're passionate about, when you start to add money in and the frustration of that, that it will spoil it for you and become less than. But I think it's important to note that doing what you love and getting paid for it is not what's spoiling it. You get frustrated with the keywording and the hashtagging and the metadata and the time that you're spending on other things other than what you love doing, which is shooting and editing. Those are the two things that light you on fire, correct?
Yep.
Hire out the rest of it then. Anything that you don't love doing, hire out and let somebody else do it and just build that into your costs. But if this is what you want to do with all of your time, and if I was going to send you a check for the same amount of money that you're making now, um, or more than that, if this is still what you would be doing with your time if you didn't have to worry about money, then this is what you should be doing with all your time. You know, the money part is easy. It's a lot to set up in the beginning and to find your way around, but once you get it, it's a piece of cake and it takes care of itself. It's really, really not that hard. So if you were like John, who was like, I have a job that I love and I love doing it all the time, so I don't care about the money. I'm here for art because I love art for art's sake and I don't really want to leave my job. I'm totally cool with that. But if you're like, no, I hate it. I only do it 2 days a week and both of those days are my worst days, then we need to
Yeah.
get you out of that. You know? Because my goal is to have you be able to spend your time the way that you want, doing the things that you want. You know, for me, I love the editing, I love the shooting, but I also love the business and the marketing. I have a very entrepreneurial mind at heart. So I love all of that. So when I think about hiring things out, it's usually laundry and housekeeping. Those are the things I hate doing. My husband will tell you.
Mhm.
So we're moving out. You passed level 9. You're getting ready to go into Sphere 1. So Sphere 1, what we're doing is we're basically custom creating a 10 level map that is specific to you and no one else. So where you were with all of your apprentices and all of you were completing level 2 and level 3 and level 4, and you essentially had the same assignment to make your own, this one is totally about you. So if you're with me for another 10 levels, when you walk out the door at level 20 from House Lark, whether you stay in the Arcanum and pick another master or you decide that this is enough for you, what would be the ideal scenario? Where would you like to see yourself?
Well, I'd like to be out, obviously shooting a lot more. If I could be shooting pretty much most of the time, and then editing and motel rooms or whatever, because I need to get on the road and do road trips, and I've got a couple planned. Um, I'd like to be doing that. I'd like to find somebody that I can trust that can do all this other stuff, because if they have access to upload all your stuff and do all the keywording, they also have access to all the financial stuff as well, which I'm not too sure about. So I would like to be. I'm not that interested in being a master. I sort of looked at it initially and thought, yeah, that'd be great, but I'm not that interested. Mostly because I want to work on my own stuff. I really want to spend the next 10 levels really ramping up the quality of my work and getting a lot more diversity in there. I mean, there's a bit of diversity already, but I really want to have such a body of work where I can have a website that's almost a one-stop shop for people who want imagery, for for travel brochures, or if they want something for their office, or whatever, those sorts of things. I mean, I find a lot of my stuff ends up in books and magazines through the stock sites, but I want to find a way of doing it directly, so I'm not paying them 50-80% of the money for a commission for selling it for me. And the big challenge there is the getting people to see your site, because people go to Getty because they know that they have the best historical vision. They go to Alamy because they know it's got the biggest range of shots of any library in the world, and you name it, it's there. So, but I've got to be able to come up with a collection of images that cover enough ground that I can sell them stock or whatever they want to be. And I'm finding out too that the stock and the art, there is no borderline between them. They cross over. Always thought there was a borderline, but they cross over a lot. I'm getting sales on stock sites for this, and I put the art images up anyway, and the ones that are heavily edited and everything, they know they're edited, and they buy them. So there's no problem with that. And I was told initially, because I did some of the got some advice from people who were doing it, and they say don't bother with your art images, they won't sell. But I'm finding they sell better than the other stuff. So.
Okay. So I'm a big believer that when somebody gives you advice and tells you to do or not do, and you find that your success is coming from the opposite, then forget those people. And that goes for me too, even as your master. If I say, hey, this probably isn't a good idea, but you're finding the success that you're looking for in that, like, follow your own intuition first, always. And even when people are cautioning you and going, you can't do that, or that won't make you money, or that is a dead end, I'm the kind of person that the phrase curiosity killed the cat was invented for. So I'm perfectly fine with, and will encourage you to just go ahead and explore that avenue anyway. If that's something that interests you, I don't care that it doesn't work for 8 out of 10 people, because that just means that you can be one of the 2 that it does, And for every person that you find that will tell you not to do something, you'll find another expert that's just as successful telling you that is what you should do. So it's really about what resonates with you. So we have your stock and we have your fine art. What do you want to be known for?
I think I'm going to be known for typing errors at the moment, judging by the chat rooms. What do I want to be? Being able to find the beauty and elegance in any area, really. I'd like to be the person that, if they want to get really good shots of their city that look different from everybody else's, that I'm the person they think of.
Okay. I like that. So you talk about stock photography, and you talk about fine art, and you're talking about these books. If I could make one area that you're pursuing super successful, what would be your priority?
I think the stock is last. I think that just feeds off of the fact that's just utilizing the same products and just getting another income, a passive income from it. And I think the books are almost like that too. I mean, I'm actually a writer by profession, but I'm not interested in doing that because it's work. I'm more interested in doing photography books that are about the photos. Okay. So I think more probably selling the images. Similar, I guess. I've admired Trey for a long time, and I like the fact that he sells his images, and people buy them for whatever purpose they buy them for. So it's the images that I want to sell, and also, I can make them into books. I can do other things with them as well. They can sell us for stock, but I think it's just getting the images sold through whatever means this way.
Would I be correct in saying that if you were to pick another photographer whose footsteps you would like to follow in terms of success, that Trey is sort of the benchmark for you?
Very much so.
Okay.
I don't know whether I'd be doing the training end of it. I think that's something that he's very good at, but it kind of doesn't interest me as much because I think I really need to concentrate on my own work.
Okay, but just as far as the photography and the artist, because those are two totally different avenues. Who I am and what I do as a teacher is totally different than who I am and what I do as an artist. They're really separate dichotomies.
Mm.
So I'm fine with you just pursuing the art, and I like that you know that, and I'm also disappointed that you know that because you were definitely one of the ones that I was going, oh, he'd make a really good master. So if we change minds on that, you drop me a line and let me know.
Yeah, I think that'll be later on if I did. I really want to feel like when I get through this 10 levels, that I'm very, very happy with my work. At the moment, it's okay, but it's got to be better. It's got to be a lot better.
And I love that you think that. That is by far the sign of a master artist right there. When they look at their work as good as yours is and say it's got to be better. I hope you always feel that way, because what happens is that you work and you practice and you mess it up and you learn, and so your standard of quality increases, because by the time you get to here and you go, oh my god, this is a really good image, then you look back at everything else you've created and go, oh, that's not good enough. And then you go, oh my god, this is a really good image. And then you look back at that other image that you were like, oh my god, this is a good image. And suddenly it's not comparing.
Yeah, the base
That's,
keeps on moving up, and that's what I want. Yeah.
yeah, because as you're growing and you're becoming more proficient, your standard of acceptability of excellence changes as well. And it should always be doing that, otherwise you get stagnant. So it's nice to hear that from you, because you will be one of my star apprentices that never stagnates, because you'll just always be growing and expanding on your artistry, and that's really inspiring to the other people that are around you too. And it's absolutely the pillar for success. So that makes me super happy. Um, I also love hearing, as much as I think that you would make an amazing master, I love hearing that you are so passionate and into what you are doing and living and breathing it that you don't have time to put out elsewhere, even for other income streams and opportunities, because that's where you want your focus to be, which again puts me in the mindset that we need to make this your full-time thing.
Well, there's another reason too, I think, with the master thing. I don't feel that I could confidently become a master and be guiding and teaching other people until I've shown that I can do it myself out in the big bad world and make a living out of it. You know what I mean?
Yes and no. If
I don't put that on anybody else. It's just how I feel about the way I'd want to have that confidence of going, well, I know because I've been there.
And I can agree with that. And John and I were having this talk in his critique. You don't, in order to be a master in the Arcanum, does not mean that you are a professional photographer. It means that you are an accomplished master artist. Those are two very separate things, because your work is stellar. And you have a day job that has nothing to do with photography, and this is not where all your income is coming from. So technically you are not a professional photographer because it is not your profession, which is the simplest definition. A lot of people get really offended when you tell them that, because they're like, oh, my work's so good. Yes, it is. It's stellar. It's amazing. I love your work. You are one of my favorite landscape photographers that I know. But you could teach people a lot about the artistry of it. I wouldn't necessarily say that you could teach how to run a successful business doing it, because you haven't done that, but you could absolutely teach the artistry side of it. And as you grow and continue to expand on that and gain more success on the financial front, then you could start adding that in. But that's a process too. Like the Reliquarian project with me is such a big leap out of my comfort zone, and I've made so many mistakes and effed up so much stuff on that project already. But people are learning with me because I'm documenting all of that. It's just a learning process. So as long as you're not pretending to be something that you're not, or to have more experience than you do, or success that you don't have, I think that is fine. I think that you have a lot to share with the world. I think all the apprentices that I picked had the potential, to learn and to grow. And I see you guys learning as much from each other as you do from me, probably more. Um, but it's not something that you have to decide now. You may decide at level 20 that it's something you want to pursue, or level 30. And if not, then I'm totally fine with you staying with your artistry, because your artistry is profound. And I think that the more that you focus and center on that, and the more we remove from other things that you don't like spending your time on, you'll really start to find that your passion for it, that is so magnanimous already, will just continue to enkindle and inflame, even more, just exponentially. And that's what I'm looking to see with you in Sphere 1. So I think Trey is a really good goal point to model after, as far as being financially successful with the artistry, because he's got a great thing going on. And maybe I'll talk to him and see if I can actually get him in for like a little hangout with us, so that he can give you some more insight into how he does that. And actually, Curtis would be a really good one, because Curtis handles a lot of his business, and Trey will be the first to tell you. He just goes places and takes pretty pictures, and Curtis makes him a lot of money. And again, same thing I was telling you. If you don't like doing a lot of this and you just want to go places and shoot and return the images, that's what you need. You need a Curtis in your life. I need one in mine too. So I think what we'll do is, I have a whole bunch of notes from this. So you're going to go in, and your next step is to go have everybody love on you like they always do in the classroom chat, and then you'll move up to level 10, and you'll write me some feedback and some thoughts. And then when we get to Sphere 1, I'm going to build you a custom map that starts pulling all of this together into itemized steps, so that it's a little bit easier for you to break down, and it doesn't seem quite so daunting with all the different things that you're trying to accomplish. And we can really start honing in on how to make this something that supports you financially without seeming overwhelming to the extent that you feel the want to shy away from it because you feel like it's going to damage your passion for it. Because that is the last thing I want, is for you to get burnt out.
Yeah, me too.
How's that sound?
Absolutely. I'm burnt out in the other stuff, so I don't need to be burnt out in this too.
Okay, so if we could get you to the point where you could travel and you could create beautiful work, and then you could edit it, and then when you were done you could hand it over and somebody else was taking care and indexing it, but it was making the same amount of money you're making now, would you feel like there was still a chance that it would be spoiled for you, or would that be ideal?
No, I think that would be the ideal situation for me. I just think that that's such a distant thing for me at the moment that I find that it's too daunting and I don't want to think about it.
It's, your dreams should scare you a little bit. They should be overwhelming and out of risk. Otherwise, you're not thinking big enough, You're not, there's no growth that comes from staying in your comfort zone. So it's always a little scary when we start to step outside of that, and it's totally okay for you to feel that way. I just don't want it to freeze you, and I would hate to see you go, nah, I'm not even going to try that because it might be too overwhelming. Like, you can always go back from it too.
Yeah.
If you try it and you go full force and you're like, I'm losing my love for it, this is not what I want to do, I'd rather be where I was, there's nothing that says that you can't turn around and go back to that. But at least you can say you tried. But what I don't want to do is see you go, no, I'm not going to try it, and then spend all of this time and energy on other things that are depleting you and taking you away from your artistry, when we could have got you to somewhere that it was really good and that it wasn't daunting and overwhelming for you. Because it could very much be the same way that I feel, where I look around and go, this is my life now. This is what I do. Like, I'm going to get off with you guys, and I'm going to go make this dress out of paper that I'm going to set on fire with Mackenzie in it.
Does she know that?
Yeah, she does. We haven't told her mom yet, though.
Oh, okay.
But I feel that way all the time. Like, the goal is that, we have these hobbies and these things that we do, and we do them because we love them. if you can get to the point where that is your life and your career and what you're doing, it will just overwhelm you all the time. It doesn't get old. Like I've been doing it for 5 years now, and I look around and go, I can't believe I get paid to do this stuff. Like it's a good thing, and it's never overwhelming or daunting. It was a little bit at the beginning, but I think that if we worked really hard for the next year with you, um, or at bare minimum the next 10 levels, that we could get you much closer to it and take a lot of stuff off the plate so that it wouldn't seem quite so insurmountable. Yeah?
Yeah, that would
Okay,
be
so
great.
I want you to think on that for a little bit, and maybe include some of that in your level 10 review, and talk to me a little bit about why it's daunting, what your concerns are, what your fears are, why you're inclined to shy away from it, because understanding those things make it really easy to move around them.
Yeah.
And that changes for every person. So time to do some deep soul searching. Not that we ever do that as artists.
Do some
What do you
more.
think?
Yep,
Yeah.
fine. Yeah.
Okay, so how are you feeling at level 9? Are you feeling growth? Are you feeling good about the Arcanum and House Lark? I know like we were off to a little bit of a rough start when you first moved over, and are you feeling more at home and with your people right now?
I think the community is great. That's the best part of it, and I still don't know my way around. And you know what? I've just decided that if I don't need it, I don't need to know where it is. You know,
Okay.
if there's something I need, I'll find it. But I went looking the other day for something, and I couldn't. I gave up. I couldn't find it, so it doesn't matter. I didn't need it that badly. But it's good. The part of this is the part that I think the reason why personal trainers work is that it's the accountability.
Mm-hmm.
My son's a personal trainer actually, but it's the accountability and also making me think in terms of okay, you can't just have 100,000 images on your computer. You've got to go through and find your best ones and edit them and present them in a cohesive fashion. And I've never really tried to do that before. I knew, you know, that I had some shots I liked and they're there somewhere, but I'm starting to really sort of tidy that all up and make, you know, the libraries, find it's all coming together very slowly, and it's all bit by bit, step at a time. And sometimes you look back and you think, I haven't made much progress, but then I look back, say, a year, when my stuff, I don't know where it was, you know, and now I've got it at least in the same place, you know, and I've got a color coding system, so I know whether the shots are for stock or for art, but now they're becoming increasingly for both. It's all coming together slowly, but there's probably, you know, 36 little things that I need to get right, and each one of them comes up, you know, bit by bit, and not necessarily at the same time. Some things are doing better than others, and yeah, it's getting there. So I'm feeling fine about it. I, you know, have the frustration sometimes of going, oh, I don't think, you know, I'm getting anywhere here. My photography is no better than when I started. I really need to work on that a lot, but that's because I haven't been getting out and shooting enough. I've got to shoot more. That's the number one thing I've got to do, shoot more.
Well, I see, and I know that it was not all new work, but I see a profound difference between your level 4 and your level 9 critique. And your ability to select the images and show them and what you're seeing in them and your ability to see what is good and what isn't. So I do think that if not directly the work, because it's not all new, your understanding of your work is becoming much more clear for you. Um, and I'm definitely seeing growth. And I got to tell you, like, I know you came originally from Miss Aniela's cohort, and you were feeling a little bit out of place because everybody there was conceptual. As much as everybody loved you and you loved them, it wasn't quite a good fit for you, and we didn't know if you were going to stay in the Arcanum or with me there for a minute. But I am really, really glad that you did, because I think that your work is profound. It's inspiring, quite
Thank you.
simply. And I think that you have an incredible amount of potential, you know, not only to monetize it, but just to create work that will create impact far beyond, you know, our brief time here. I see your images being looked at and talked about centuries from now, and when these cities don't even exist anymore, they'll pull them up and go, once upon a time there was this place, and here's the work from this photographer, like you have that kind of ability with that, and I would like to see you. You know, the monetizing is great, but more importantly than that, I think that your work deserves to be known.
Thank you.
So, all right, you have survived.
Yep, I'm
I'm
still
gonna go
alive.
medicate.
I hope you're feeling better soon.
Congratulations, welcome to Sphere One.
Thank you.